Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So stitch the season, here we go again. So what did I do in the last week? I did a lot of stitching of these little leaves here. Let me bring it up. Those green leaves, I came through and put a green, paler green over the top of them with fly stitch. So it is a carry on from these faded ones that are in the background. They've had a similar treatment to these ones. So I sort of felt like it was just a wash of a similar thing but different. Does that make sense? I've got these dimensional ones here that I couched down that ribbon. So I thought, oh, that's enough. I'll just embellish these with stitch, and I'm really happy with the way they came together. I worked it down through here around Little Bird. Little Bird's yet to be done. Jay is yet to be done, the blue jay, this little bird. And I also started working the flower here. So let me bring it up to the camera. Lots of little stitches. There's a mix of an orangey yellow in there. There's the ribbon, which is a changing the colour ribbon. So it sort of allowed me to jump around a little bit there. So I've got that one, the Sue Spargo Sparkle Thread. What was the other one I used in there? It was on a card, if I remember rightly. This one here. So they were the three threads. And then just for a bit of fun, I threw in that one, I think. It was something like that. So that's the rose. So I'm yet to do that one, which will be my homework, because what I want to do today is get in amongst the beads. I just felt like beading. So let's find Reg. There he is. Is that Reg? Reginald, where are you? I think that is him. So let's get some thread. And let's get cracking. So that rose pretty much has all the stitches that I want in place. Maybe could do a few more, but I thought let's get the beads done, because I've left a gap here and I've left a gap here. I'll zoom in. So let me get myself positioned, get my chair right. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see where we are, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so that there I think is perfect for beads. That there is perfect for beads, and there still is a wash of paint there on that fabric that hasn't been stitched. But whether that's too much. So I want to bead this first. I'm just going to grab a little bowl. That's the buttons that I plan to use at the top to connect the pieces together, these two. Okay, so I've got my beads into a little bowl. I wonder if I can show that in the shot. It's tricky when we zoom in because I don't know, it seems like our backs start to get a bit weary and we start correcting our posture, and then suddenly we're out of shot. I'm fortunate enough when I'm in my Brisbane craft room that I've got my iPad projecting through an iTV, which is just a little black box that Apple have, that allow devices to connect to your TV. Plus they've got movies in there as well. Like it's nearly like a hosting device for your TV that Apple have. And it's a game changer when you're doing YouTube, because I can look up at a screen in front of me and see my hands on the TV. So I can at a glance see where I'm at. And I've just got used to doing it. But when I'm in my craft room at Burrum, because we haven't officially moved everything yet, I don't have that set up. So I find that I will move my hands and be out of shot and not realise, because I've actually got to sit up in my chair and put my nose over the top of my iPad to see the counter or the screen, well, even the timer. I can't even see the timer. So I think your setup is what can help you stay in focus. And even then, I get carried away with stitching and yibby yabba that I sometimes glance up at the TV and I'm like, oh, you've probably had 6 minutes of not much viewing. I know you're not watching anyway, you're just listening, so it's all good. I tend to anchor my elbow to the table too, and if that elbow doesn't move, I know I'm reasonably good in shot. And I know it's more the beginners. I know you're out there just starting, so you're absorbing every trick in the book to get yourselves going. So I do apologise if I'm off camera, but you know. Sometimes we get a little bit out of whack. So far so good. Glancing at the screen, I'm in shot. So I'm just working through this little bead soup I've got here. There's all sorts of sizes. Just picking up little ones. I tend to get the big beads in position first. I put 2 stitches in every bead. I like to say that, but sometimes I don't, but I should. If it was clothing, I would. And I'd probably have a silk thread that was nice and strong to hold the beads really securely. But I don't know, my grandmother, she was a dressmaker, and she never had any fancy threads. She would just use a good quality cotton. Even then, if the bridesmaid's fabric was an odd colour and she finally found the colour thread she needed for it, and it was not a good quality, that's what she'd have to use if she was beading a bodice or anything like that, or making umbrellas, and she was doing all sorts of things for wedding attire. That's what she could find, that's what she would use. But she'd always put 2 stitches. And I think every so often she put a random stitch into the fabric. I don't know, I was only little. Can't remember all these things. She would have told me. I do remember that. I remember taking my wedding dress, which, you know, I was a girl of the early 90s, a bride of the early 90s, so I looked like a meringue. A bead encrusted meringue, and I took it to the dry cleaners, and he looked at it and like, oh love, these beads, there'll probably be a bucket full of beads that we'll hand back to you, we take no responsibility. And I'm like, oh okay, that's all right, we'll stitch them back on. When I went back to get my dress from the dry cleaner, I was expecting a sad story. And he was just standing, goes, that dress is the first dress we have ever had where the beads did not actually fall off in any great number. And he said, that is so well made. And I was so chuffed. And I remember calling Grandma and saying, Grandma, your dress survived without losing 1 bead. I could just tell that made her feel very, very happy with her work. Did a wonderful job. My meringue dress. I was very fortunate to have a wedding dress maker in my grandmother. A true dressmaker in the sense of the word. There we go. So that little slosh of paint that had no stitching or anything on it is now completely covered with those beads. All All right, so let's do a couple little stitches as we hop over to the next section. Actually, I'm going to end this thread off. It's just getting a bit short. It's going to start slipping out of that needle. So let's just be generous on ourselves. Oh, I can't wait to get into these birds. It feels like I have been stitching flowers forever. Okay. Oh, I know what else I had to tell you. See the trim on the side? This here? It's been bugging me. I probably alluded to it in the last video. I love the flowers on it. It matches beautifully. But I really am growing to dislike the fabric that they've used to stitch it on. So, I think I mentioned in the last video that I would seed stitch it. You probably already noticed it. I've just remembered. Look, I've started seed stitching. I started at the bottom and I'm a third of the way, nearly halfway actually. Just putting some little stitches in there. I decided to use the same thread as the background and just drift it into here, and heaps better. It's lost that netty, synthetic-y look, and now it just looks like it's a trim with backstitch into it. So really happy with that result. Let me get myself back in focus because I've gone yibby-yabbering. I'm going to work this side now. So very happy with that. More seed stitch, yay. Just going to do a couple little stitches first. Make sure it's anchored. So, gosh, I hope you can't hear my stomach, it's rumbling. I will just briefly grab my calendar because I film in advance this particular series, so they're just done. But we would be into March, I would think. No, I don't need my phone. I need my actual diary where I write down all of my videos and when they're going to come up for you guys to see. Are we in March yet? Where are we? Stitch the Seasons. And in March, we have the Susanna trip to Ballarat. Not quite. Oh my goodness, we're still not in March. Where am I? Oh no, we are. So February 23rd is part 10. This is part 11, and we will be March the 1st. Friday, March the 1st is this video. That means I'm off to Susanna's next Friday. How exciting. Oh my goodness. So for me today, it's January. And I'm stitching, thinking about my adventures. I'm sure I would have been rabbiting on about it by now as this week is rolling for you guys. But I'm still in January. Getting a little excited about the whole thing. I'm sure by now I'm very excited. I find it's the only way that I can keep up with the amount of work that I do in stitching for you guys is have my projects that are long term like this one, and the calendar that Susanna's doing is, you know, get them done, get them uploaded to YouTube, and they're sitting there ready to go. And my diary tells me when a video is coming up, and if there's a gap, that means I need to make another video on whatever project it is, and it seems to work really well. And that then frees up my immediate week that I'm currently living in for things that I'm following along that might be a prompt that I'm waiting from another creator to give us. For example, the Roxy creation project. So it's great. They're done. And if I've sort of get ahead a little bit, I feel like I've got no pressure as well, because I know you guys are getting your video. I'm ahead. It allows me to think about projects that I can bring into my plan, because I've now gone, oh, okay, so I actually have 4 or 5 days where I'm ahead, so maybe I can do something else. So that's sort of the theory, and it's worked. We'd be coming up to a two-year anniversary for my channel too, I would say. Sure, I started it mid-Feb, March. I'd have to have a little look. I registered the channel years prior and then just thought about it, and I was busy, didn't have time. But then when we reduced the number of Christmas stores we had and started to consider semi-retiring, it sort of opened up an opportunity of time. And it's just time, isn't it? If you don't have the time, you can't do it. Especially if you want to do it to, you know, the degree of which you'd hope to do it. For me, that was at least a video every day. I still haven't reinstated Sunday. I stopped posting a video on a Sunday, I don't know, late last year. I'm actually finding I'm enjoying not having that pressure of that day. I know it's not much, probably, but it did make a difference. 7 videos a week, that bead we've already done, is a lot. So it's just giving me that extra day to gather my thoughts or do homework, stitch. It's really good. Don't think it'll be reinstated. I don't think you guys mind. I think you'd rather me here for the longevity than burn out because I don't have that day up my sleeve. I do occasionally post a Sunday video if something's needing extra work on it before it's lost in the week. You know what I mean? Oh, come on. So far, so good. Happy with that. Nope, that bead is too small. I think I only need one more there. Then I'm thinking that center, we're in here, and I thought, oh, maybe it needs to be stitched. I am going to bead it because these little beads are tiny. And I think that space, which is quite narrow, I wanted to do an extra stitch through there. I missed it. I think can handle it. So let's just scoot into there. And now we're only looking. I have these beads too. What would happen if we did that colour in the centre? Would that look odd? No, it would look different. Different is good. Just put a couple there. If it looks a bit odd, we can always pick up a few red ones to mix with it. Let's try a couple. But I think that will work. It'll make it look like it's a different shade of the rose. Gosh, soon we'll be into a new season, won't we? Which is odd for me because it's January. I think I'm going to do them all in that different bead. I think that works in the center of that rose. believe these are all 2mm beads if you're looking for tiny itty bitty ones, but you will need to use, I'm just going to put that, I'm just going to put what will go wrong here, that into there. That was tricky. I'm going to put some of these into here. I got this little tray when I did a retreat with Lisa Mattock Forage last year, and I haven't really used it a lot. I used it on the day, and it was quite tricky how you could just slope that and, you know, pick up easily without too much effort. And then it sat here behind me on my bench, and I haven't really used it. And it's been holding those 3 buttons that I need to connect these summer to spring. So I thought if I lost those 3 buttons, I would be very disappointed. And I'd forgotten just how handy that little tray is. I should use it more. Instead of balancing those bead containers with the chance that they're going to go everywhere. Am I out of shot? I am. Okay, focus again. Get back in. I think some of those only got 1 stitch, didn't they? It's because I started yibby-yabbering. Yeah, that's good. That's really, really cool. So for those of you that don't know, we have a Facebook page, group, Stitched Vintage Treasures. It's a play on our names of Susanna Vintage Blend Studio and myself, and Tia from Calm Creations has been helping us with all the fancy stuff and all the technical stuff. She's very clever, that girl. And over there you can show us what you're stitching, because it's just been so hard to connect with you guys and see what you're all stitching. And we thought, right, we have to do it, because the 3 of us were getting messages from people saying, you know, how can I send you a message? How can I show you my project that I've been following along? And really, a Facebook group is about the only thing we can do. I've said it before, I wish YouTube would allow us to post a photo within our comments at the bottom of videos, because then we could see what you guys are up to, and then if anyone in the future finds that video, they can look down through the comments and see what we've all been up to. Come on, YouTube. And I honestly think if they did that, which I'm sure they probably could easily do, maybe that's, yeah, maybe not. Imagine the data they need to store for everyone's videos that are out there on YouTube. So then if the comments suddenly all started getting photos, gosh, maybe that's why they don't do it. Too much cloud space to store everything. Gosh, there's servers. I think in there is a little bit of painted area. See that there? I'm not going to bead into there. I sort of feel like if I did, I'm going to lose the opportunity to have a bit of a break visually with the eye, and it just become a blob of beads. So I'm scooting over to this here little gap, and you can see where the artist, see my thread going down, see where the artist has got that little dark area there. That's where I'm going to aim these beads next. I don't think I'll fill that whole space. I think I'll just once again let the eye rest a little and use the painted area as well, and not just cover it with beads. I think I'll scoot over to the very edge. I'll pull my needle up over here. I think I'm going to go into that space as well with beads. Let's see how we go. I still haven't done my text. I got onto these these leaves, but that's okay. It won't take too long. I really want to stitch birds. We've got to do birds next. I think we do a bird. Surely we've finished the flowers. Oh my goodness. I've gone quiet. Thinking about the next piece. I haven't looked at it for ages. And I walked past the squishy bag, which has the fabric in it that's going to be used in this project, and poking out the top is the autumn piece. And oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. I've forgotten the piece that I'd selected. So it's coiled up in there like a, you know, rolled up in that squishy bag, poking out the top. And I was like, oh, it's like golds and reds and oranges, and oh, that bead's not going to go through that needle. You're a funny little guy. So, a bit excited about the next one too. Don't forget, if you want to see some other YouTubers that are following along with this project, just go to the little symbol that allows you to search a topic. It's a magnifying glass. And in there you can type hash, as in the symbol hash, stitch the season, and that will then tell YouTube that you want to see everyone else that has written hash stitch the season in their comment, in their description, under their own videos, or in the title, anywhere I think does it, and that then YouTube lines them all up for you, so you can potentially discover a new YouTube channel that you may not know of because they've used that hash. And you, what you doing, Bandit? Looking at the window at me. Yeah, so it's a great way to find channels that are similar to what you're watching, and then they're doing projects to that you may be doing as well. So that's what that hashtag. But you've got to write it exactly the same. You can't do hash stitch, hash seasons, because YouTube will then go, oh, so you want to see videos about seasons or videos about stitch. You've got to put the words together. You cannot have a space. You cannot put another hash in the middle of it, because that denotes that it's a completely different topic. So the hash is like the, I guess, the brackets around a topic. It's very clever. I don't know who invents this stuff. And then it takes me a good year to get my head around what the hang this hash thing is all about. And you usually need a 15-year-old to tell you. So that's what that hash is about. There we go. We've had a little tech talk. So yeah, I guess if I was to type a hashtag into my description and I had space between words or a hashtag between words, it won't work. It'll be sending people all over the place to me from gardening channels looking at seasons or who knows. And even then, if the hashtag, let's say Stitch the Season, was used by a gardening club 20 years ago, those videos would pop up. So when we create a hashtag for a project, we do a bit of research and type a few suggestions in to see what pops up, because the last thing we want is some random videos that have got nothing to do with our world annoying you guys. So yeah, we do try and create a sentence or a phrase that no one else has used ever in YouTube. So that way when you guys type it in, it's only us. It can be tricky. We went through a few to get Stitch the Seasons. All right. Oh, did I knot that properly? I think I just did a little slip knot. Now what I'm thinking is going back in with one of those threads, because it looks like I've not stitched it. Does that make sense? The question is, do I do a dark or do I do a light? I think I do a Sue Spargo. Let's split the difference. Reasonably dark with sparkle. I do find this thread breaks down fairly quickly too. Like it starts to unravel because it's got this glittery filament wound through it. So if you do invest in some of them, just cut yourself off a smallish piece because it will disintegrate and it's so beautiful. You don't want to waste any. So just make it a little bit smaller so that you're not pulling as much through the fabric to potentially unravel it, but you can be, you know, it's not too bad, but it does. They start putting these pretty filaments within a thread. You sort of just need to take into account that it could start breaking down. I've picked a fairly generous, thick crowbar of a needle to make a nice good hole so that when that thread does work its way through the fabric, that also is reducing the friction and the potential of damage to the fibres. So keep that in the back of your mind. If you're getting into those fancy threads, make sure your needle is making a good hole. That's for the newbies. It's been interesting since I've been on YouTube how many people are new to it all too. I thought we were all doing it out there, you know, naive me. Everyone loves stitching, but I know within my friend circle, there's probably only one that stitches, you know, outside of the YouTube friend circle. The rest of them just look at me oddly and go, what are you, an old soul from the 1900s, 1800s, sitting in the parlour stitching? So it's great to see newbies. And we've really noticed it since we've had the Facebook site, to be honest. It's like, wow, another new one. Where have you been? Come on in, take a seat. Welcome to the gang. So yeah, if you are part of our Facebook group and you haven't really interacted, you've just joined and you're just watching there and you've got any questions, for goodness sakes, throw it up. And I'm not saying that Tia, Susanna and I have the answers, probably not. But I tell you, there'll be someone in the group that does. There are some very experienced embroiderers and it's fantastic. Old school embroidering too, so the technique is correct. We're probably not as technique driven now. This new wave of slow stitch, is sort of taking the pressure off people, because I don't know, the young ones don't seem to hang out in fabric shops as much, or craft groups and things like that. This is just my observation. So probably technique, unfortunately, is being lost a little bit. Let's hope they Google the stitch and actually watch someone that can show them the exact way to do it. And then if they go and adapt it and adjust and whatever, that's part of the creative journey we're all on. That's fine. So it's sort of, you hope that that happens, because we've all had that fancy work experience somewhere along our journey, even if it was just as a young girl doing doilies sitting next to your mother or your grandmother. So you've picked up the 3 or 4 basic stitches. And then you've come back to it all, like myself, and you've been admiring all these fancy stitches for years as you flip through those books at the news agency, or you go to a craft fair and you see all this textile art and you're like, wow, one day I'll have a go. But time, you know, we're building careers and families and we're just busy. And then finally you get a breath of air where you can go, oh, I might just pull out those threads that I've been sitting on or inherited. And you start back at that point of fancy work, and then YouTube comes along and throws a smorgasbord of information at you. So now, instead of trying to find a class somewhere, we've got YouTube right at our fingertips on devices. Like, goodness sakes, it's amazing. And then some of us are sitting in our craft room stitching up a storm, thinking, gosh, it's a bit lonely. So then they go and start a YouTube channel just to yibby yabba and surround themselves. Can I get them into there without incident? What do you think? Oh, where's a piece of paper? We should make a funnel. Let's the experts do it like that. Oh, no, it's all good. There you go. So then, yes, some of us end up with channels just yippy-yabbering and chatting away. I would never have thought I'd be doing this, to be honest. Never. And it sort of came about because my mum started getting ill and unfortunately passed away. So I think it was in the February 2 years ago. She was lying in bed just watching a lot of videos and reading and just relaxing. So I just started filming videos so she could watch, see what I'm up to, and it was great. Help fill the day. Oh, I'm not even in camera. Like, all right, come on. Okay. See how easy it happens? So I'm just now over here. He's finished. Done. Let's call it done. That guy is done. So now I've just got this little guy here. So I'm just going to carry on stitching that. We've still got a little bit of time. And just lay down some random pink. I'm thinking along the lines of the beading will be against the bird. Maybe there, and there. And that'll put a little encrusted edge to that flower. And then everywhere else I'll just stitch using those 3 or 4 colours that I've used before. Pop a little orange in amongst it. No use reinventing the wheel because I know it's going to look gorgeous. Because it is the same rose, the same species. Now I have bound the edge of that with an overcast stitch. And wherever it changed colour, I changed that edge stitching as well. So what I mean is pretty much the whole edge is cream through here. Then I did a little bit of green. So just a whip stitch, overcast stitch. So I'll do the same now that I'm at that edge. I'm going to use my thread here to bind that edge. I thought that might be a nice little treatment on the side. I'll do a little bit of orange where I get to orangey bits that meet that edge of the fabric. I did consider putting a trim down that side, but I thought, no, that's predictable. Let's do something a bit random. So that's how I decided on just something simple. There's a lot going on this piece over the other side. So now I've got an opportunity to do, so it's got a dark center. I might save that for this thread, that one there. Sue Spargo in the center there. So where else can I stitch? Maybe, no, that'll be beads. Maybe just a couple stitches, just thinking over here, but at a different angle. So it looks like there's a petal sort of cupping that other petal. Let's get a different angle happening. I've got thread left too, so I just want to try and use it. I'm going to miss this piece. I know I said that about spring, but I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I won't by the time I finish that blue jay. I might be like this bloomin' bird. I just don't think I've got anywhere else to go there. Actually, I might come up over here. Run a couple stitches in here. So I think I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you guys are heading into March now, watching this. And I'm in January. And we've been chatting, us girls, Tia, Susanna and I, about maybe an Easter project. So I'm not sure at this stage if it will happen because March is pretty busy for everyone. Susanna's got her retreat. And she's also got a family camping thing as well after the retreat. So I guess if you're watching this now in March, you'll know by now if I'm doing something for Easter. I've got a few ideas, and so has Tia, but we don't know yet. We'll see how we go. Maybe we'll have time at the end of January to actually film it for you guys, so you are going to be seeing something. Who knows? It's like predicting the future, and you're now in the future. I'm just going to keep binding that corner. I'm nearly out of shot there, aren't I? Okay. There we go. Botanical Beauties will be cruising along too. March, you will be getting Susanna's video where she gets to pick the next one for March. I won't say what it is because just in case this video is not in the right sequence, and I won't even mention February's video topic that I got to pick just in case something goes wrong and I spoil the surprise. But my guess is you're in March and you would have finished the Feb prompt. But just don't say anything, girl, in case you go and accidentally post this video out of order and someone watches it and going, oh, which has been known to happen. I might just do a couple little stitches up here with this ribbon. See, it's very similar to that ribbon colour, just to introduce a little bit of detail there. Then I'm going to jump down to here and work this centre. I might even leave one of those blotches of dark paint there for some beads. But I think I'll bind the edge all the way down to where that yellow orangey tone kicks in. Yep, that's good. Oh, lost my thread. So my homework will be to finish this flower. I know I've been saying that for a little while, but I keep getting sidetracked with other things like adding seed stitch to that edge. Get these bright ideas and suddenly it's another 5 hours of stitching. Goodness sakes. So I might just pull that up there. See where we're going into the orange there? You might not be able to see it as easily. And I think we'll put beads in there, so I might just dodge down there and come up in here. Like so. Gosh, look at the time. Doesn't an hour go quick when you're stitching? Suddenly it's 2 hours and you're like, time to get up off the couch and stretch. You're like, goodness sakes. All right. Now I might just scoot up to here. I'm working to that point there, because I'll be filling the edge of that petal with beads. So I'm going to drift this dark thread up to where those beads will be. I'll stop there because that could be orange. I've got to leave a little bit of room for Sue Spargo's sparkle thread too, which can be there. So beads in there, Sue in there, Sue in there. Orange will fall into place. That'll be all beads. That will be all beads. I'll just come up here. I'll start with the binding of the edge for this little bit. And I guess that there will have to be, well, that'll be beads, so it'll be dark. So I think what we'll do is we'll catch this little dark spot here. Then we'll bind the edge of that petal because the beads will nestle right up to it and they're all dark. So then it's really only the orange needed, or yellow, and the edge will be all bound. I haven't yet decided what I'm doing here yet. Another thing is I haven't decided what we're doing with the splotches. You know, all of these random splotches. I don't know. I had thought of stitching them, then I thought, no, don't stitch them, let them be, because they literally look like someone has flicked paint on the piece. I'm tending towards that now, because if I stitch around them, I lose that little feathery edge that the artist has achieved. So that's why I'm thinking I'm going to leave them. Okay, so now I can come back here and hopefully I've got enough thread to do my overcast stitch. Gone quiet. I'm thinking about the Roxy Journal of Stitchery Volume 5 projects, and I'm busy filming and stitching January, so it's the pouch. You guys will know February by the time you watch this. So I'm wondering what it is. That's why I went quiet. I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what the February one will be. And we'll be waiting with anticipation for the March one. So we've got 10 minutes left. We might get this Sue Spargo thread into position, probably cut off way too much. Goodness, I think I did. There's only a few stitches needed, girl. Oh well, I'll use it another day, I'm sure. So let's get, so what did we decide we're doing here? So I was going to do Sue Spargo in here. Am I in camera? Just move over. So it comes together reasonably quickly. I know it takes hours, but still, it's not too bad. Okay. Then I thought of a bit of Sue over here. Maybe put a bit of Sue on that outer edge a little bit. It's because I cut so much thread off now. I'm like, well, where am I going to put it? Got to use it. Don't have to use it. Might sneak some itty bitty stitches back through here with a running stitch on that inside edge, just to put a bit of another detail in there. There we go. Okay. What if we do then just a little flash of it here? Just a couple stitches. That technically should be starting to break down. I might just one more stitch and then stop, because that really should be a yellow orangey tone in there, and my thread is not happy. It has started to unravel. It's not too much wasted. Bit of a shame, but anyway, move along. It'll be forgotten in 10 minutes that I did it. There'll be no guilt. Let's have a play with an orange, yellowy, variegated. How are we going for time? Cruising. So now I just want to sneak back through that whole area with this guy. It's a number 8 pearl variegated, found it in a thrift store or op shop. I haven't used a lot of it until this project come about, because it's one of those colours that if I do use it, it is just a little highlight. Just brings a bit of light into things when you're stitching flowers, for example. So if I bind that corner, we get a little pop of the yellow there. And then I might come up in here and just do a couple little itty bitty stitches like so. Just tiny. Then I might jump over to here and do a little cluster of stitches. Five minutes to the hour. We've actually got quite a bit done, haven't we? That's good. So I'm sure I can find something else for homework. It's very fine thread, so I'm just not getting the coverage that I want. And it's very pale. I probably want it to be a little bit more orange. So the variation or the changing colour on the thread is in the yellow more than the orange. So I might even come back through with some orange and just pop a few little stitches over it all just to darken it a little. Actually, I might stop and do that now because it's too bright. It's not giving me the depth. Like we want light to... Oh, now I've got unthreaded the needle because I've changed my idea and I've got a few minutes to go, so I'm starting to rush. Haste makes poor decisions. So what I'll do, it's this one here I think I want. See the difference? I don't mind that it's there, but I'm going to just add in a little bit more punch. So I needed those tones, but I'm right in that pale. So let's maybe start here with a couple stitches again, just to mix it in. Trim that little tail off in a moment. Then head back over to where I was and sneak back into those stitches a little bit and blend into here. It's the tiniest of detail, and at the end of the day I will probably never notice it. But if one day I'm sitting there studying the piece, remembering this very moment, I will go, oh gee, I blended two threads there. Isn't that clever? There we go, tiny little stitches. It's a dark little crevice there. All right, now I'm going to come over here and pop a few little running stitches in there just to smudge a bit of orange through there. Like you can barely notice it, but I know it's there. Makes me happy. Then I'm going to pop up over here. So I'm going to run out of time to bead it, and that's pretty much all that's going to be left. So what I'll do is at the end of this video, I'll do a photo of it beaded, because I'll sit here and just finish it. What a glorious colour this orange is. Okay, now we can do the binding of that last little bit, little pop of orange, and of course it becomes unthreaded. And then I shall say goodbye. There we go. Love it. Yep. So beads, 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 a few in there. That should do it. So just end it off. So the next video will be a bird. I'll see how I feel. Do we tackle the blue jay and just get into it? Or do we do one of the little finches or whatever they are? I don't know. They look like finches to me, these guys. Gorgeous little things. All right, let me zoom back up before I forget that we are in tight like that. So I will finish beading that. Through the week I can keep doing that, and we are cruising nicely. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, guys.